I need to tell you something I've never said out loud. Not to my therapist, not to my best friend, not even to myself, really. Not until now. I fell in love with someone else's husband. And before you click away or judge me, just hear me out. Because this isn't the story you think it is. His name was Michael. We met at work. He was the kind of man who made everyone in the room feel seen. You know the type. Warm smile, quick wit, always remembered the little things. He'd ask about your weekend and actually listen to the answer. I wasn't looking for anything. I was 29, focused on my career, enjoying my independence. But there was something about him. The way he looked at me during meetings. The way our conversations would stretch longer than they needed to. The way he made me laugh until my stomach hurt. And then one day, during a late night at the office, he told me his marriage was falling apart. That's the moment, isn't it? The moment where you're supposed to walk away. Where you're supposed to say, "I'm sorry you're going through that," and create distance. I didn't. He told me his wife had grown cold. That they hadn't been intimate in over a year. That they were basically roommates raising 2 kids together. He said he felt invisible in his own home. That she looked through him, not at him. And I saw him. God, I saw him. We started texting, just friendly at first. Then deeper. Late-night conversations about dreams we'd given up on, fears we'd never shared, versions of ourselves we'd lost along the way. He made me feel alive in a way I didn't know I'd been missing. I told myself we were just friends, that nothing physical was happening, so it wasn't really wrong, that emotional connection wasn't cheating. But I knew. Deep down, I knew. It started with a kiss. We were working late again. Seems to be a pattern, doesn't it? And there was this moment. This charged silence. And then his hand was on my face, and his lips were on mine, and every rational thought I'd ever had just evaporated. I should have stopped it. I should have pulled away. I didn't. For 6 months, I lived in this secret world. Stolen moments in hotel rooms, lunch breaks that turned into something more, text messages I had to delete, a separate email account, a version of myself I didn't recognize. He told me he was going to leave her. That he just needed to wait for the right time. After his daughter's birthday. After the holidays. After tax season. After. And I believed him. Or maybe I just wanted to believe him so badly that I turned my common sense off. Here's the thing they don't tell you about being the other woman. You're not living your life. You're living in the margins of someone else's. You get the good parts, the romance, the passion, the fantasy version of the person. But you also get the worst parts, the lying, the secrecy, the constant anxiety that someone will find out. You don't get Christmas morning. You don't get to meet his family. You don't get to post photos or hold hands in public or build an actual future. You get hotel rooms and parking lot goodbyes and the nauseating knowledge that while you're falling asleep alone, he's going home to her. And the worst part? You did this to yourself. You walked into this with your eyes open. The unraveling happened slowly, then all at once. She found out. Not because she went through his phone or hired a private investigator. Because their 12-year-old son used Michael's iPad and saw our messages. Their son. When Michael told me, I felt my entire world implode. This wasn't just about a betrayed wife anymore. This was about a child who now knew his father was a liar, who would grow up with this memory seared into his brain. I wanted to throw up. Michael called me 3 days later. His voice was different, flat, distant. "I can't see you anymore," he said. "I have to try to fix this, for my kids." And just like that, it was over. No goodbye, no closure, no happily ever after. Just 6 months of my life that I could never get back, and a man who chose his family, as he should have from the beginning. Here's what nobody tells you about being the other woman. You don't get to grieve publicly. When someone you love leaves you, people bring you ice cream and wine. They tell you he was an asshole. They validate your pain. But when the person you love goes back to his wife, you grieve alone. Because who can you tell? Who's going to feel sorry for you? You were the villain in someone else's love story. You were the threat to a family. You were the person who knew better and did it anyway. The shame was suffocating. I stopped eating, stopped sleeping. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. replaying every conversation, every choice, every moment I could have walked away but didn't. I'd imagine his wife, whose name I knew was Sarah, though we'd never met. I'd imagine her finding those messages, the look on her face, the betrayal, the humiliation. And I'd imagine their son, the innocence stolen, the trust broken. I did that. I was part of that. It took me almost a year to tell anyone. I finally broke down to my sister during a wine-drunk confession. I expected judgment, anger, disgust. Instead, she just looked at me and said, "You fell in love with a fantasy. And now you're mourning something that was never real." She was right. I didn't love Michael. Not really. I loved the idea of Michael. The version of himself he showed me in those stolen moments. The man who had time and attention and romance to give because he was only giving me the easy parts of himself. I never saw him stressed about bills or exhausted from a screaming toddler or distant after a long day. I never had to navigate real life with him. The boring, hard, beautiful messiness of an actual relationship. I loved a ghost. Here's the truth I had to swallow. Michael wasn't the villain of this story. Neither was Sarah. I was. Not because I'm a bad person. Not because I set out to hurt anyone. But because I made a choice, dozens of choices actually, that prioritized my feelings over everyone else's. I could have walked away the moment he told me about his marriage. I could have said, "I'm not available for this." But I didn't. Because I wanted him. And I convinced myself that my desire mattered more than his family's peace. That's the thing about affairs. They're not usually about sex or even love. They're about ego, about feeling chosen, about filling some void inside yourself with someone else's validation. And I'm not proud of it. But I can't change it either. It's been 3 years now. I left that job, started therapy, did the hard work of figuring out why I was willing to accept so little, why I was okay being someone's secret. I learned that I have a pattern of making myself small, of accepting crumbs and calling it a feast, of believing I'm not worthy of something whole and real and mine. Michael wasn't the problem. He was a symptom. I ran into him once about a year ago at a coffee shop. My heart stopped. He looked older, tired. He gave me a small nod and kept walking. And I felt nothing. No heartbreak, no longing, just a dull ache for the version of myself who thought that was love. I haven't dated seriously since. Not because I'm still hung up on him. I'm not. But because I'm still learning how to love myself enough to demand better. I'm learning that I deserve someone who chooses me in the daylight, who doesn't hide me, who doesn't make me compete with someone else for his time. I deserve someone who's actually available, and until I fully believe that, until I know it in my bones, I'm not ready. Sometimes I think about Sarah. I wonder if they're still together, if they worked it out, if she ever forgave him. I hope they did. Not because I think Michael deserves it, but because those kids deserve a stable home, and because Sarah deserves to make whatever choice feels right for her. I'll never reach out, never apologize. There's no apology big enough for what I helped do. And honestly, an apology from me would be more for my conscience than for her healing. Some things you just have to carry. So here's what I learned from all of this. 1, you can't build a real relationship on a foundation of lies. Even if it feels like love, if it requires secrecy, it's not the real thing. 2, someone else's marriage problems are not an invitation. Just because someone is unhappy doesn't mean you're the solution, or that you should be. 3, love isn't supposed to make you feel small. It's not supposed to live in shadows. Real love is proud and public and doesn't ask you to hide. 4, you teach people how to treat you. And for 6 months, I taught Michael that I was okay being a secret, that I would accept whatever scraps of time he could give me, and he believed me. 5, sometimes the person you need to leave isn't the person you're with. It's the person you've been, the version of yourself who settled, who looked the other way, who convinced herself this was enough. I don't share this story for sympathy. I don't even share it for forgiveness. I share it because maybe someone out there is in the middle of their own version of this, telling themselves it's different, that it's not really cheating, that he's really going to leave. And maybe, just maybe, my story can be the wake-up call I wish I'd had. You deserve more than this. More than stolen hours and deleted texts, and loving someone who will never fully be yours. You deserve someone who is free to love you, openly, completely, without shame. And if you're the one doing the choosing, if you're the Michael in this scenario, go home. Talk to your partner. Go to therapy. End it if you have to. But stop living a double life. Because the damage you leave behind isn't just to your spouse. It's to your kids, your family. And yes, even to the person you're having the affair with. Nobody wins. Not really. I still think about it sometimes. Late at night when I can't sleep. I think about the version of myself who walked into that office and saw Michael and felt that spark. If I could go back, I'd tell her, run. Not because Michael was a bad person, but because she deserved better. And so did everyone else in that messy, painful equation. I can't go back. I can only go forward. And every day, I'm learning how. So here's my question for you. Where are you watching this from? And if this story made you feel something, whether it's anger or empathy or recognition, drop a comment and tell me what lesson stayed with you. Have you ever loved someone you couldn't have? Or been in a situation where you had to choose between your heart and your conscience? I'd love to hear your story. Not to judge, just to listen. And if this video resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe. Because we're building a space here for real stories. Messy, complicated, human stories. The kind we don't tell at dinner parties but need to say out loud. Thanks for listening. And remember, you deserve to be someone's first choice, not their secret.